All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started now with defensive coordinator and linebackers coach Andrew Thacker. We'll open it right up for questions for Coach Thacker. If you have one for him, please use the raise hand function within Zoom. We'll call on people individually, beginning with Rod McKenzie from 247 Sports.
Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Rod.
Each week at this time, we usually talk about, your defense coming out and shutting down the run game. I guess this week it's probably even more important because you have a quarterback that really is not one of the better runners in the conference, and they have a good duo in Durant and Jackson. What do you see from those two, and does that change the way you approach the game?
Absolutely. They can run the football. Those two running backs are talented. Once you started watching film, we've gone on 3 game plans here in 3 weeks. So when you turn this one on and you start to obviously have a lot of compare and contrast over the league's running back talent, that's as good of a two-headed monster as there is in the league right now. But they have different skill sets as well and running styles, so they complement each other well. But at the end of the day, they do a nice job of spreading out formationally, using a quarterback that can drop back and throw it quite a bit, but establishing the run with those two. The running styles, again, complement each other very well. And, there's been multiple games where the Syracuse game, for instance, where they both went over 100. I think they're both averaging 70-plus yards a game as well. So they're able to keep each other fresh and balanced off of one another and quiet the task in the run game with those two talents in particular. As far as all 11 being coordinated and the offensive line being coordinated, a ton of compliment to their offensive line coach as well. Not the biggest of stature. We're coming off the last game we played, the Notre Dame freaking NFL offensive lineman wall. They don't have those body types, but very well coordinated and play well together.
Next question comes from Kelly Quinlan from Rivals.
Hey, Andrew. I was just curious what you've learned from having time off and getting to kind of maybe self-scout, analyze a little bit more what you're doing defensively and kind of what you see as things that you guys can kind of work on to get better in these last couple games.
Sure. So unprecedented time. We've had 3 different game plans to prepare for, so that's most of our time and energy. So it wasn't particularly built as, hey, this is just the bye week that we have scheduled and planned for, where you're normally just developing and scouting. We were going into game plans and feeding our guys with information specific to particular opponents, trying to have as much carryover as possible, trying to make it as simple as possible so that you can make sure that you have players that know the game plan available on Saturday. You've always got to be ready for what those availability of the guys that you have right now. So we went through Pittsburgh, made it all the way to Thursday, so you have an entire game plan installed. Went earlier in the week to Miami, but had built something for that, knowing we had that opponent earlier on. And then now we got into Duke this past week right there. So it was scheme heavy on the front end, but trying to create as much overlap as possible. So to your point, all right, all of the young guys know the system. All the things that we went all the way back to fall camp, having as much overlap, having as much verbiage to be able to go out and play fast. At the end of the day, how can we get guys to execute and play fast out there? Things we need to improve on quite a lot, Kelly. Obviously, we need to establish the run versus an offense, again, with a 2-headed running back. And then we need to establish versus a quarterback that can make every throw possible. I'm sure that they've worked on protecting the football. Outside of them not protecting the football, they've played very good offensive football outside of the UNC game where it got away from them. Every other game they've been in it, they've had a chance to win, or they have won and played well on that side of the ball.
Next question comes from Ken Segura from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Andrew.
Hey, Kelly. Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, Ken.
Don't do that to me.
I know.
You mentioned the run defense, and obviously, it's been a challenge for you guys. And I'm curious, like you mentioned, though, you play a team like Notre Dame that has such big guys and good talent up front. I'm curious, when you look at what you guys are doing, do you see them doing the right things technically and are trying to get to the right spots?
We have flaws in every single game, absolutely, just like every other defense in the country. So we have to rely on overlap to the football. So meaning when guys make mistakes, techniques, absolutely, those are showing up on film. Absolutely, we're coaching our tails off to get those fixed. This 3 week has allowed us to do that. One of the things that we did in Notre Dame to play our tails off, to play with great effort, to play competitively, was the overlap of the football from the second level in that game. So that's the thing that we've worked on the most is the overlap to the football, the rallying to the football, the energy to the football. Again, when they tighten down the formations like Notre Dame, that helps in that. When they spread formations out like Duke, it gets you in more one-on-one situations in there in the interior. Again, we're not built with just size on the interior, so we have to create different layers to get to the football. We've got to create pressures. We have to create second-level opportunities to get to the football with the non-disruption on the inside.
Another question from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, this time from Bailey Johnson.
Hey, Andrew. I'm just wondering, by the time y'all play Saturday, it'll have been 28 days. How do you keep the guys interested and engaged when you sort of get halfway through a game plan and then the game gets postponed and that kind of stuff?
You play kickball and you play home run derby. I don't know. I appreciate you allowing me to be candid with your comment. It has been a challenge. There's obviously no script for this. Coaches love schedules. We love knowing the course of the season. We love knowing from January on what we're going to do, what our plan is, what time of the year it is, and a global pandemic and these games being rescheduled and postponed throws quite the wrench in that. And for young men as well, they work and they function best when they have a routine. I really do believe that, and they know what to expect. Getting outside of the monotony. So there's certainly been no monotony. We've tried to be creative. There's nobody in the country that's better in being creative with the schedule and trying to create novelty in the schedule. So it's not just dragging along. We have been going at it for quite a long. I've been in the NFL for one season, and this feels like two NFL seasons in the same deal as far as going all the way back to OTAs to where we are to think we still have a 4-game stretch right now. So we've got to be creative in the process to remind the guys that the process is fun, man, that football's fun. All of these guys, man, they love football. They love football, and I think they believe in the process. But when you get into the middle of a long season, they've got to be reminded of that. So I think we've done a great job in terms of scheduling of going day on, day off, day on, day off, where we've attacked in those day-ons, made sure that we've gotten ahead on our schedule, make sure that we continue to develop every single day. And then on those day-offs, make sure that they take care of their body, have an opportunity to be with Coach Lou, still developing through the course of the season, which you normally don't have a chance to do that. Normally you have such a long stretch of competitive games where your body's getting beat down. So they've been able to get their body back, been able to continue to develop those pieces, and then sprinkling football in between. Now we got to this week, and now we have an opponent, right? At the end of the day, process every single day, but when you've got an opponent in front of you, when you've got a carrot, when you've got a Duke Blue jersey in front of you, right, that urgency makes it a little bit easier for the coaches to be able to coach in those situations.
Another question from Rod McKenzie from 247 Sports.
Hey, Andrew, when you look at Bryce, he seems to be a quarterback that looks at all his options, spreads the ball around. You have, I think, 3 receivers with over 20 receptions, 4 or 5 others with over 10. What kind of challenge is that for your secondary?
Yeah, absolutely. If there's any negative stigma of a Duke's offense, you're wrong. I think they can function at a very high level, and they have at times protect the football. If they protect the football, they're in a better situation over the course of their season in terms of their win-loss record. But he operates very well, and I think the longer he's been in the system, I don't even know this for sure, but I think I'd call wind that they missed maybe all of their spring practice or the majority of it, and then you've got a transfer quarterback coming in and maybe being a little late in the system in terms of timing and operation. Now they're going into week 37 of the season. I think he's got a good feel of the offense, being able to get the timing and the spacing of it, and he does a great job. They do a great job of coaching the quarterbacks of where to go with the football relative to coverage, so we've got to do a great job pre-snap coverage disguising, and then matching routes. They do give you routes, consistent routes over the course of the game that you can work through the course of the week with varied coverages. So we've got to be multiple in our disguises, multiple in our coverages, and then know the routes to match,
Time for a few more. We'll start with one from Ken Severa from the AJC.
Andrew, I was wondering, is there something in particular when you look at your defense and how it's playing, I guess particularly compared to either last year or the start of this season, that you feel like you guys are actually significantly improved?
I think we played our best when we attack the football and create takeaways. And that's when we play our best, when we've had our best games, when we've had margin on our side of the football, and that's when we play our best. We feed off that. We feed off energy. It's part of our culture. It's part of what we preach. I pause so as if there is no excuse. We've had a lot of rotations. College football this season has required a lot of rotations as far as who is on the field playing together. So that's a challenge. That is a challenge in terms of continuity and being able to play fast. So that creates a collective effort of a lot of dudes having to create communication and execution. We absolutely can improve every single day on our communication and our execution. All right, very seldom are we out there having to coach effort and thudding and tackling in a practice. Everything is about getting to the football, playing with unbelievable effort, but the execution piece is where we can make strides every single day, getting a collective group that play together and have continuity and consistency.
Another question from Kelly Quinlan from Rivals.
Andrew, you guys haven't had your full deck of cards in terms of players all year, but what is maybe a tangible goal that you would like to see at the end of the season here, even given the fact you're still adjusting and kind of working without guys and that sort of thing?
Yeah, Kelly, it's not a statistic. You know, we want the scoreboard to reflect the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets having a win, and would love every defense in the country would love to have shutouts, but it's not a statistic goal. It's an abstract, it's a feel, it's a coaching observation and a casual fan observation of the energy, the effort, the love of the game which we play with. I'm pausing because I apologize. I hope that's not a cop-out answer. It's not, hey, we need to hold somebody to this amount of yards of rushing or this amount of yards of passing. We need to attack the football with a love for the game and a passion for each other on defense, and let that be reflected. And whether you're a casual fan in the stands, whether you're a coach from the sideline, you can feel that thing. You can feel culture. You can feel guys flying around to the football or not. And that's the goal. That's the energy in the room right now. We need to make sure that a circumstance inside of a game doesn't change that energy. Tuesday morning at 7:30 a.m. when we came into the defensive unit room, that was the energy. We need to make sure that if we face adversity on any Saturday, that it stays that way throughout the course of the game. Again, God, I hate coach speak at times when you ask those questions, but then all of the other pieces are reflective of that. All the positive results and statistics in the scoreboard are a function of that.
Okay, Coach, we'll take one last one from the conference, and we had one that was texted in as well. So the last one from the conference comes from Patrick Canaro from Ramblin' Sports.
Hey, good morning, Coach Thacker. I was curious if you have specifics dialed up for this weekend for a more consistent pass rush in the manner of stunts and blitzes. I'm not asking for any trade secrets, but I just wonder for this game in particular if you have that plan.
Yeah. And it's relative to formation of what they do. When I turned on the film, I was amazed at how fast they operated. They are truly a no-huddle tempo team when they get going. So have to be selective in terms of that. In doing that, they do allow you to see the formations to be able to attack those. So it's hard to give you that answer without giving trade secrets, but absolutely. We want to create negative plays. We want to get them off schedule early in the down to make him one-handed in terms of having to pass the football, to not give them the complementary run piece and attacking formations when they allow you to do that. So stunts are a part of that, 4-man stunts, and then certainly a complement of 5- and 6-man pressures from different spots on the field.
Okay, and then Coach, finally, a last one that was texted in, and it was ask a little bit about the development of your true freshmen that are seeing time on defense, particularly the guys up front, Ivy, Kennard, and those guys. So if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Actually, the last time we were on the field, you mentioned Ivy, but it was fun. It was fun to watch him make a TFL and make a sack versus a pretty good opponent right there. So these weeks are gold for those guys. I mean, just think about an 18-year-old young man and how his body's developing every single week. And then obviously the practices we've been able to have where we're focusing on technique and effort. I know that's what you guys have asked multiple times, but you're able to focus on those things that make a young 18-year-old that maybe verbiage, maybe scheme was getting in the way early on. Now we're going back to the simplicity piece early in the weeks. To be able to teach him technique and what exactly he's doing. Here's the flaws in what he's did. Now he gets back into a game plan and he's able to execute faster with more violence. So the development those guys have been able to have with these bye weeks has been critical. So I want to compliment Jared getting in the game, Kyle Kennard of having a role, and then in the interior, even Akilo Stone having a role as well.
Outstanding. Thank you, Coach Thacker, and we'll get Coach Patnode up here in just a moment.
Cool. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. See y'all.